They grew up just a few houses apart.
His father was a very close friend to my father, and we grew up in the same village. We were very close friends when we were young.
Calixt, the younger boy, nurtured a talent for poetry and music into adulthood. Andrew became a family man and preacher with a head for business.
Yeah, right from childhood, I've been buying and selling stuff, but on a small scale.
No one could have conceived of the unearthly hatred that would shatter their friendship, their families, and their country. German and then Belgian colonialists had traditionally favored the minority Tutsis in Rwanda, granting power and benefits based on a perceived physical resemblance to Europeans. Ethnic identity cards were issued in the 1930s. The majority Hutu were oppressed and disadvantaged. Tutsi kings ruled until the Civil War of 1959. The Hutu gained power after Rwanda's independence in 1962. Half the Tutsi population fled, and a government campaign of hatred against them intensified. Extremist radio stations called Tutsis cockroaches and urged their extermination.
There was a lot of tension and hatred.
Finally, the bloodlust exploded.
It started by burning houses and rotting, and then the killings started later.
On April 6, 1994, after the death of Rwanda's president in a suspicious plane crash, the government's targeted mass murder of Tutsis and moderate Hutus launched with chilling precision. There was no mercy, even in the most sacred of places.
And I always remember, we could smell the church before we saw it.
World Vision's John Shank arrived some 10 days after the horrors began, led by rebel troops to one of the churches where the hunted had sought refuge.
There were bodies 3-4 deep in smaller rooms that looked like they had been the Sunday school rooms. Bodies piled outside, just everywhere.
In a nation of only 7 million people, 800,000 to 1 million were beaten, shot, and hacked to death with machetes. 6 men, women, and children slaughtered every minute of every day for 100 days.
What was so demonic about the whole thing was this genocide had been planned well in advance.
Andrew had managed to hide his Tutsi wife, Madrine, but her parents, brothers, and 5 relatives were butchered in the frenzy.
I was traumatized during the genocide. Many family members had been killed. I saw most of them dead. I hid. Whenever I heard people passing by in big groups, I thought they were coming for me.
Madrine couldn't comprehend this horror between people who had once intermarried and lived together so peacefully. And then came another horrific realization, that Andrew's friend, Calixt, had been among the mob that murdered Madrine's family.
I hated him. I hated them, because those that were involved were from this village. But I hated them and wished they all died as well.
Andrew reported his old friend, testified against him, saw him convicted, and sent to prison.